Hello everybody, welcome back to Super Tech Services. This is Brian and we got another great video for you. On today's video, we are going to be doing these ink tubes on an HP 2530 plotter. Yes, this is our first video that we're doing the plotter, and why not do a big job like the ink tubes? Now this is quite the process. Covers are going to have to come off, this whole stacker unit comes off, and the service station comes off as well. So I'll put all that in the video as well as the ink tubes. We'll put timestamps below so you can skip and choose. If you just want to change something like the service station, you can skip to that. So it's quite the process. So stay tuned. This is going to be a good one.
Quick break from the videos, guys. Check out our website for our all-new eBay store with remanufactured fusing units and other parts. Amazing! Also, we got a merch store. More items will be added later. Back to the video. Okay, like I said in the intro, we are going to be replacing the ink tubes with trailing cable on an HP T2530. This also works for the HP T2500 and other models as well. Just check if yours is compatible. Alright, so first off, we're going to remove the main covers on both sides. This is 6 screws. And for this job, you're going to want to have a T10 and a T15 torque wrench handy. So we're going to remove the 6 screws and remove the cover on each side. And then we're going to remove the ink as well, just to access the last 2 remaining screws. Alright, now we can pull off the front panel side cover and then move on over to the next side. There is one screw that will need an extension if your screwdriver is not long enough. Just note you will need to extend it a little bit. Then you can remove the ink and the 2 screws, and the second cover will come off. Now we can go ahead and remove our rolls from roll 1 and roll 2. And then we're going to remove our center cover. Your cover may have 4 screws, mine only had 2. Now we can remove the stacker arms by lifting up on each side. Then we're going to remove the fixed tray covers from both sides as well. This will be 3 T15 screws on each side. Now that those are removed and the covers are off, we can disconnect the cables from both sides of the stacker. And once the cables are all disconnected, make sure to remove them out of their wiring harnesses so that they're out of the way. Now we're going to remove 4 T15 screws from each side of the stacker. Same thing, you will need an extender because some of these screws go in pretty deep. Okay, and once you have all 8 screws removed, you can go ahead and carefully remove the stacker and set it aside. Okay, now we're going to go ahead and remove the guides. You can just pinch these in and pull them off. Then we're going to remove the rear beam bracket with 1 screw. And then you can remove the ink tubes bracket with 2 screws on the back of the rear beam. We're going to press up on the service station and release the carriage just to move it out of the way. Disconnect and then unroute the service station cables. And then go ahead and remove the 1 grounding screw. Now we're going to place a sheet of paper to protect against screws falling into the ink container. And then just remove the 2 Allen screws from the slider rod. Then remove 2 T15 screws and the left bracket. And you can now remove the service station. Now we're going to remove the T10 screw and disconnect the line sensor cable. Unclip the mylar and disconnect the trailing cable as well. We're going to remove the two T10 screws holding the Carriage PCA in place. And once those are removed, you can lift up and remove the Carriage PCA. Now we're going to remove the two T15 screws on top of the print head carriage. And then an additional 3 T10 screws holding the ink tubes in place. Then we're going to remove the ink tubes and trailing cable from the carriage and just hold them off to the side there and start the process of unrouting the trailing cable. First, we're going to unscrew the holding bracket and lift out the trailing cable out of its wiring harness and start to unroute the trailing cable leading all the way back to the print head. Now we can remove the guide out of the way and start the process of unrouting the end tubes. You can pick whatever side you like and just start to get the tubes out of their brackets and remove any guides that are in the way. And now we're going to remove the ISS wall front panel side and the service station side. These will be T10 screws. And once you have the screws out of place, you can remove the walls and then remove the ISS cartridge. And same thing, you can remove the guides out of the way to get the cartridge out of the way and start to unroute the tubes all the way back to the print head. Now you can remove the ISS wall on the service side. Then removing the ISS cartridge. Continue unrouting the tubes all the way back to the print head. You can remove the grounding screw on the service side to help get the ISS cartridge out of the way. And now we can remove the ink tubes and the trailing cable completely. Now we can start the installation process with our new set of ink tubes and trailing cable. First, we're going to get them out of the box. Okay, we're going to use the rear beam as a placeholder and start the process of routing the tubes. Make sure to get the tubes back into their individual slots and route them along the side, reattaching the ground screw Now we can install the ISS cartridge back in its place and reattach the walls. Now we can route the tubes on the panel side. And install the ISS cartridge on the panel side as well. And then reattach the walls. Make sure to reattach the bracket and the screws. Now we can install the guide screws. And now we're going to start the process of installing the trailing cable. You'll want to bend the trailing cable on the pre-marked areas that it has. And you can use the pre-existing trailing cable as a guide to know which direction the bend should go. And then route the trailing cable all the way back to the board. And then connect the trailing cable to the board. And reattach one of the screws to hold the wire in place. And then you can attach the rear beam guide. And tighten the T15 screw holding the guide in place. Reinstall the Carriage PCA. And connect the line sensor cable. And then you're going to press down on the plastic harness to lock it into place. Clip on the mylar and tighten the T10 carriage screws. Okay, now we can go ahead and attach the ink tubes assembly, locking it into place with the 2 screws on top. And then securing the rest of it with the 3 ink tubes bracket screws. And then installing the trailing cable. And we can now install the service station along with its bracket. And then 2 Allen screws on the slider rod. And then connect and route the cables. And then you can place the grounding screw. And now, carefully reattach the stacker. Once again, you're going to be securing 4 T15 screws on both sides for a total of 8 screws. Now you can connect and route the cables on both sides. And install the fixed tray covers on both sides, 3 screws apiece. And then install the center cover. Install the stacker arms by sliding them right into their place and locking it in place. And now we can install the stacker guides as well. Now we're going to install the main covers on both sides, 6 screws apiece. Now we can reinstall our ink cartridges. Now we're going to want to go into the maintenance section and clear our life counters for the ink tubes. This is important. Once you've done that, it will reset the ink tubes back to 0, and you can install your old or new print head. And if you have any issues, try purging the tubes. This will require a new print head though. And just like that, we are all done. Thank you guys so much for watching. That was how to replace the ink tubes with trailing cable and various other components on the HP DesignJet T2530. Thanks for watching.